close one chapter and open another one. I was really kind of curious how they would follow up episode 6, really, honestly. I mean, episode 6 was truly insane, so yeah, it was kind of a cooldown episode. Honestly, the only thing that we can really replace that amazing, insane action is just, I guess, Yuri. We'll just have an entire episode of Akari just thirsting over Minnow and then have a brief moment of Momo getting involved there. No, really, honestly, this episode is just opening up the chapter to the next thing, which is kind of funny because I think my whole mentality was what was next. I assumed it would probably be, I think they need to fight against another otherworlder, and it kind of seems that's what they're happening. I mean, it's opening the gates to another faction, which I think they mentioned the fourth before, but essentially they do have another faction besides the Commons, the Noblesse, and the Faust. It's not an official group, but they believe they're an official group, but this group, the fourth, aptly named, believes that they are an independent group beyond the 3 classes that they've already established, and they're a group that apparently has been known for doing terrorist acts, and additionally, apparently their leader was taken down by Flare, so interesting. Now, I'm not sold yet on this idea. This just randomly out of nowhere, here's a new group, and they're a bad group, and it... This is the funny thing. They seem like they don't like Minnow, because Minnow is Flarette, who is the disciple of Flare, who took down their leader, but Manon, the current leader, doesn't seem like she cares. I mean, she might just be superly cool and calm and collective, as it seems like the whole leadership of the fourth doesn't like the fact that Flarette is there. Manon doesn't seem to care. It seems like she doesn't really care too much. It also implies that she pretty much took them all out. I'm assuming that's what the sandwich was, unless the sandwich is some sort of controlling thing that she's doing, because it seems like she has an otherworlder that is following her around. I'm assuming she's an otherworlder. But I'm getting mostly ahead of myself. Minnow and Akari are heading to the sanctuary, where she claims that there's a place there that can take Akari in. She hasn't really established exactly what she's planning at this moment. It seems like Minnow's whole purpose now is just to travel and to find a way to kill Akari. And this is where it gets to a funny point. I'm curious how many people were thinking the same thing. Okay, so we've established that, you know, obviously Orwell didn't have a method to take out Akari, so she's got to figure out a way to take her out. She's looked into the mind of Akari and knows that Akari has a tapped away memory of a future self that has failed. And so it goes back to the whole thing, well, it looks like I failed before, so this time I need to find out a way to kill her, because obviously I didn't before. So let's go here. It's one of those things where my mind immediately goes to, if I was in Minnow's shoes and you decide something like this, it starts to mess with you because you're thinking, well, should we go to the sanctuary? Was the sanctuary my first choice before? Because obviously that road did not lead to an end that was successful. So should you always second guess yourself? Or does the second guessing yourself end up going to that route anyways? It's kind of a funny conundrum that you end up facing. Why is she going to the sanctuary? It obviously didn't work. But anyways, along their terrible journey, because at some point Akari gets really, really tired, they end up at Labelle, this port city that is on the side of the ocean. It kind of jumps a little bit into Minnow's past with Flare and them arriving there before. It was her first time seeing the ocean. She doesn't really respond much, and Flare notes that she's just an emotionless girl. But she does question this fog that's off the ocean, which we do find out is one of the human errors. This is the Pandemonium, which they claim that it's really easy to enter, just you cannot escape. And it was kind of interesting because at some point, they acknowledge it. Minnow kind of just brushes it off. You know, yes, she knows what it is, but she doesn't want to let Akari knows what it is. And when they arrive in there, and Momo arrives and gets a brief moment with Minnow alone after thoroughly doting on her, Momo mentions, did you think about trying to throw her into the Pandemonium? And Minnow has a brief moment of going, no, I didn't think of that. Am I hesitating? Is the only reason I didn't even think about doing that because I don't want to kill her. It's finally having those moments where Minnow is really starting in her own mind to realize that she's not looking for a way to kill her. And this is exactly what Momo doesn't like. But honestly, myself, I didn't really feel like that is a way of killing her. Like, they established very early on, and she mentions it at the end of this episode, we have to be very careful about what we do to try to take out Akari, because any time it fails and she rewinds time, it's going to further this progression or regression to where she can't control her power anymore. Her power will become overwhelming and it will go out of control. So I gave the writer credit for establishing very early on that you can't just go, okay, montage of trying different ways of killing Akari. Feed her to a bear. She teleports back out. Okay, throw her off a cliff. She teleports back to the top of the cliff. It didn't do some stupid montage of different ways to take out Akari and just be completely bogus, honestly. It set a requirement. It set these rules in place that prevented her from doing that. And that's why she took her to Orwell. That was a place where they had a method of erasing her, which honestly could have worked. If they would have blanched her and then had control of her power, they could have used it on herself and made her just disappear. But my point is now that we have this Pandemonium, which they describe as it's easy to enter, but it's a fog that you'll never retreat from. And she mentions there's a possibility there's something inside of it that will kill her. But I think this is like the worst so far that they've attempted. But again, this is where it kind of gets into, yes, it's a cool way of seeing what is inside of Pandemonium, because that's honestly what we get. We get a perspective of Akari going inside of Pandemonium and seeing this huge monster inside of it and somehow using time to revert herself back out of it because you can't escape it. But my assumption is that Minnow is smart. And if you think about it, what is going to cause Akari to die in there? You already know that Akari can rewind time all the way to the point that she first arrived. I guess the assumption is that it's not so much a barrier that you can't find a way out because of the fog, but maybe that the Pandemonium is some sort of power that cannot be escaped even with time. Maybe that was it. And maybe Manon could have said that, but the perspective that I get is that she can't escape it, so she's going to be lost in there forever and something in there will kill her. No, nothing in there is going to kill her. She's going to rewind time every time. We've already established that. You need to find some way of either using her own power against her or just erasing her as a whole. But with that said, yes, she goes inside of there. She says something to the effect of, oh, I'm in here. Okay. Sorry, Manon, I can't die here. This is not going to work. Oh, I got to get eaten by this again. How many times have I been eaten by this thing? And she also notes that everything is going well. So her being at the Pandemonium apparently is all according to and here's another thing. It's like, if you've been here several times, that means everything's going well. But is that going well because you're going the same route as you've done before that has failed? Unless there's something in that path that might possibly have worked. But it was cute. When she returns, it says something to the effect of, the only reason I slept so well is because I was next to you. And Minnow says I had a moment of quiet, which was great. It was just a cute little interaction between them. But yes, everything outside of that is really surrounding around the Fourths. As they first arrive, they get some money from the church there to pay for it. You do have one lady in the top of the church, and she's watching Minnow and noting that she's Flairette. But then again, most of the rest of the episode is Momo looking into the Fourth there, which she obviously wonders, why are you here, Minnow? You should really leave here quickly, because most of this town is people of the Fourth. And like I said before, a lot of the focus is on Manon, who is the next leader of the Fourth because her father is ill. Again, her mother is the one that was the leader before, but Flair took her down. And we have this meeting between people wondering what they're going to do. Maybe they should go on the attack against Flair, take her down. It's dangerous that she's there. And Manon, for some reason, doesn't seem like she cares. And everybody's asking her for her opinion, and she's like, no, I don't think we should do anything right now. And they're like, well, you just don't know. You don't understand how dangerous Flair is. She's like, yeah, I do. She killed my mom. Now, that was a weird thing, because it sounded like, according to Minnow and Momo, that Flair captured the leader. Whereas Manon's saying that, no, my mom was killed by them. Now, maybe that means that her mom wasn't the leader and this is a different person, but maybe I just read that wrong. But outside of that whole scene, we get a brief shot of her with this other girl that looks very dead-eyed. At the very end of the episode, it shows Manon telling her to get inside of an Iron Maiden, which is terrible, but I'm assuming that this girl that she led into this Iron Maiden is possibly an otherworlder. And maybe she has the power of surviving something like that. It seems like this girl looks too unique to be just a random girl that was led inside of an Iron Maiden just for the sake of showing how evil Manon is. It seems like Manon's very confident bringing her there. Either that means that her blood being spilled is something for her to use, or she's testing her because she's not able to die. Maybe we have a case where Akari is able to reverse time, whereas this girl that Manon has possibly is just able to heal very well. She's not a time controller, she's just able to restore herself. So we'll see how that plays out. I'm assuming we're going to have pretty much a game of Pokemon. Menno and Manon with Pokemon Akari and this little girl fighting against each other. But we'll see how that turns out. But I don't know. I'm very mixed so far. I'll be perfectly honest. This isn't a story that's super grabbing me. This idea of this fourth group. Hopefully Manon will be a more interesting character going forward. She seems pretty chill so far. Like I said, it doesn't even seem like she cares about Flare, but we'll see. Whole idea of you took down my parents who were the leader of the force. Now I'm going to take you down because you're the underling of the one that did it. Okay, well, we'll see. I have confidence in this writer, so hopefully they will have this next arc be just as good as the previous arc. I think somebody said somewhere in the comments somewhere that the stuff that's coming up is really good. So we'll see how that turns out. But honestly, you only have like 5 episodes left, so we'll see. But I thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like button down below. Hit a comment in there. Let me know what you thought of this episode. Subscribe if you have not already. Share this video if you can. Support us on Patreon. I'll throw a tips link in the description below. We definitely appreciate everybody that supports us. And y'all take care.